The ceremonial blade pressed against Elijah Kane's neck, cold as liquid metal, yet he didn't flinch. Hundreds of Xyrith nobles crowded the obsidian chamber, their luminous eyes fixed on the human standing before them. High Commander Tarex held the edge steady, waiting for fear, for submission. But Elijah's gaze remained unbroken, fixed on the empty throne at the hall's far end. "You dare request sanctuary?" Tarex hissed, his silver-scaled face inches from Elijah's. "When your species barely holds a single star system." "With respect, Commander," Elijah replied quietly, his voice calm despite the pounding of his heart, "we held Arion 4 for 5 years against the Dominion. We only fell because no one answered our calls." A murmur rippled through the assembly. The blade pressed harder, slicing a thin line of blood along Elijah's shoulder. He didn't move. Death had no hold on him anymore. He had survived the bombardment, the loss of his wife, and drifting for months in a broken escape pod before being captured by Xyrith patrols. Then a voice, soft but sharp, cut through the hall like a knife. Every Xyrith dropped to one knee, including Tarex. Elijah remained standing, unsure of the protocol, but too exhausted to care. The Queen descended from a hidden passage, her pale silver-blue skin glowing under the crystal light. Her movements were graceful, predator-like, almost alien, but with hints of humanity. She stopped 3 paces from Elijah and studied him with eyes that held no warmth. "You are bleeding on my floor," she said. "Apologies, Your Majesty." "I didn't bring the blade," Elijah said. Something flickered across her face, surprise, perhaps, or irritation. The nobles held their breath. "You do not kneel?" she asked. "I'd rather stand and show respect than kneel in ignorance." Silence stretched between them. Then she turned to Tarex. "Rise. Explain why you drew blood in my hall without permission." "The human demanded sanctuary, my queen. He has nothing to offer, no fleet, no allies, no leverage," Tarex spat. "I did not demand," Elijah said. "I asked. There's a difference." The queen's gaze returned to him. "And what do you offer in return?" Elijah hesitated. His ship was scrap. His people scattered refugees across the galaxy. His wife was gone. His homeworld wanted nothing to do with his colony's remnants. "Finally," he said, "I can work. I'm an engineer." Laughter erupted. Low, cruel, dismissive. "We have engineers born to castes higher than your entire species," Tarex sneered. "Then I have nothing," Elijah said, "but I ask anyway." The queen stepped closer. "Leave us," she commanded. The nobles filed out, rigid and obedient. Even Tarex had to follow. The doors sealed like a tomb. Velithra circled him slowly. "You are not afraid?" "No. I have nothing left to lose." She stopped, close enough that he could see the frost-like patterns across her skin. "My advisors will demand I execute you for this insult." "I will not apologize for truth or existence," he said. A long silence. "I will come to your quarters tonight. After the 3rd moon rises. Speak to me privately. Tell no one, or you will be executed for slander." Elijah's heart stopped. "You, what?" Velithra's expression gave nothing away. "I'm curious, human. Nothing more." The eastern wing quarters were sparse, a bed, a table, a window overlooking a garden of crystalline plants that sang faintly in the wind. Elijah sat on the edge of the bed, unsure if he would face interrogation, assassination, or something stranger. The 3rd moon rose, casting blue-white light. A section of the wall slid open silently. Velithra entered alone, in simple robes. "You're actually here," he said. "I considered the possibility you might try to escape," she replied, a faint twitch at the corner of her mouth. "I have nowhere to go," he said. They talked quietly, about losses, loneliness, and the exhaustion of survival. Elijah shared the story of his wife's death during the Dominion attack. Velithra spoke of her own tragedy, the loss of her consort and the plague that swept through the noble houses, leaving her cursed and isolated. "You are perceptive," she said. "I'm an engineer," Elijah replied. "We troubleshoot, find root causes. You're lonely." "Queens are not lonely. They are isolated," she said, her voice flat. "We value control. Emotional expression is weakness. Elijah considered her words. I understand tiredness, the exhaustion that makes dying seem easier than living. I fixed my engines not for me, but for the people depending on me. Velithra was silent. You risked yourself for others. And now? I have nothing. I've been waiting for something to give me a reason, he said. Maybe that's why I asked for sanctuary here. Maybe hoping for purpose, or death. Either way, resolution. Recognition flickered across her face. She would grant him provisional protection. She would allow him access to her palace's engineering systems. Nothing more. In the following weeks, Elijah worked in the maintenance cast, cleaning filters, replacing worn components, carrying tools for engineers. He was invisible, ignored, beneath notice. Yet he learned the palace's rhythms, the unspoken hierarchies, and, most importantly, the Queen's failing systems. Minor fluctuations, barely noticeable, could have become deadly. Reports he filed disappeared. On the fourth week, he took the risk. Slipping through a maintenance access during a shift change, he found Velithra in her private garden. You should not be here, she said. I filed reports. Ignored. You risk execution to tell me, she asked. I risked nothing but death to ensure you live. That is worth everything. Together, they moved through the maintenance corridors, examining failing systems and patterns of sabotage. The evidence pointed to Tarex, the High Commander, seeking to weaken the Queen, perhaps even orchestrating her death. I can do the repairs myself, Elijah said. Velithra studied him. You would do this for a queen who has offered only survival. I do this because it is right, he said. And because you speak to me as a person, not a tool. She paused, recognition softening her features. You are strange, human. Months passed. Elijah worked double shifts, secretly repairing the sabotage, documenting everything. Velithra visited irregularly, through hidden passages, talking about politics, engineering, and loss. Then the crisis came. 3 events coincided. The sabotage was discovered, the council convened an emergency session, and a secondary power grid failed. Elijah was arrested and brought before the council in chains. Tarex accused him of espionage and attempted assassination. The Queen remained silent, sitting upon her throne as Elijah spoke of falsified logs, tampered reports, and patterns of deliberate sabotage. Take her word, Elijah said, gesturing to Velithra. She rose and confirmed the documentation, damning the High Commander. Tarex was stripped of rank, confined, pending investigation. Chains fell from Elijah's wrists. You saved me, Velithra whispered. Perhaps. I only showed what was there. You saved yourself. The court erupted in chaos, nobles arguing, advisors scrambling. But in the center, a human and a cursed queen stood together, not touching, not declaring, simply present. Fragile, uncertain, yet a beginning. The council chambers were a storm. Tarex's allies shouted, demanding the queen punish Elijah. Others whispered in awe, someone had dared challenge the Zyrith hierarchy and survived. Velithra rose, regal and cold. The evidence is clear, she said. Tarex sought to murder me for power. He will face justice. The chains fell from Elijah's wrists. Every eye in the room was on him. He had nothing to gain, yet risked everything. In the following days, Elijah continued repairs openly, earning grudging respect from some engineers and suspicion from others. Velithra summoned him daily, discussing palace systems and politics. You see patterns others miss, she said. You notice truth where others see only protocol. Elijah shrugged. It's what humans do. We survive by noticing. She smiled faintly, something warmer than recognition. And you survive where others would perish. Do you fear me? Not anymore, he said. I've already survived everything else. Together, they uncovered more sabotage attempts, revealing networks of nobles who sought to control the queen by weakening her empire from within. Every time, Elijah intervened, quietly, efficiently, guided by the simple principle, do what is right. The palace began to stabilize. Systems worked. Failures were averted. And the Queen, once isolated and untouchable, began to trust, to confide, to speak without calculation. Elijah never sought reward. Yet his actions inspired others, engineers, guards, minor nobles, to act with courage, with integrity, and with trust in someone outside their rigid hierarchy. When Tarex finally faced execution for treason, Velithra allowed Elijah to stand beside her. Not as a servant. Not as a tool. Not as a subject. As an ally. "I cannot promise happiness," Velithra said softly, "but I can promise honesty, respect, and the chance to stand beside me." Elijah met her eyes, thinking of his lost wife, of months of emptiness, of the despair that had driven him to risk everything. "I can accept that," he said. The court watched in shock, scandal, awe. Some whispered curses. Others murmured approval. A queen breaking tradition to honor a human, unthinkable. Velithra and Elijah walked together through the crystal gardens, the alien plants singing in the wind. Neither claimed love, neither made vows. Yet in that fragile space, trust and connection had grown, stronger than fear, politics, or superstition. The galaxy outside remained dangerous, the Dominion a threat, and the Velithari Empire fragile. But for the first time in years, the Queen was not alone, and a human had earned a place in a world that had written him off. It was a beginning. A fragile, uncertain, magnificent beginning.